On this week's episode of Light on Leeds Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary Episodes, I speak to Amy Manancourt about Hania Therapies. She tells me how she moved from dance to yoga and about her training in India. Have a little listen. Welcome to another episode of the Corona Bloody Virus Extraordinary Episodes of Light on Leeds. This week, remotely connecting, we have Amy Manancourt from Hania Therapies. Hello, Amy.
Hello.
So, Hania Therapies, how did you get started with that and what is it?
So this is my sort of wellbeing company, but it's basically just my baby, which sounds a little bit selfish, but that's what it is. So I got started with Hania Therapies a few years ago, but with it being my baby, it's kind of been in development for sort of all of my adult life. So the past sort of, however old I am, 32. So the past sort of 12 years or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what made you get interested, and what sort of therapies is it that you're offering?
So at the moment, what I'm really passionate about and really excited about is the yoga side of things. So I'm a mover, started as a dancer, and very quickly realised that actually dance or moving in a kind of trained dance way isn't what I'm most interested in the body yet. I'm really passionate about how the body moves, how the body works, and how we can connect to the body through movement. So what I'm working with at the moment is yoga, but I'm also trained in massage therapy, Reiki healing. What else do I do? Tarot work, crystal work. So quite holistic, but really what I'm most passionate about is movement.
And is this whole holistic therapist thing something that you've always been interested in, or did something spark your interest?
I have a complete curiosity for the human experience and what it means to be a human being in the world as it is, and even more so in the world as it changes now. So I've always known that we have everything inside us to experience the best. Not necessarily the best, because that's an interesting choice of words, but to experience life to its fullest, all within us, inside our bodies, and we have the skills to access what we need just with us, without anything else. Mm-hmm. So I've always been really sort of, interested in the human experience.
But you started out in dance, you said, and then and that's kind of led you to yoga?
Yeah, the funny thing was, I trained at the Northern School in Leeds, and I started training there actually I started going there when I was about 15. I'm from North Yorkshire originally. And so I started going there when I was about 15, and then carried on studying there till I was about 21. And we did a little bit of yoga there, and we did a little bit of Pilates. And because I was wanting to be a dancer and a performer and be this kind of exhibited person, I suppose. I thought, well, yoga's really easy. I can make all of those shapes. That's so easy for me. I'm so good at yoga. And I think a lot of us come to it like that. And I carried on doing sort of yoga practices, mainly to make pretty shapes with my body and be really good at it, which sort of fed the ego. And then a few years ago, I realized, oh, actually, that's not what yoga is. Actually, yoga has nothing to do with how pretty I can make these shapes. There was a little bit of a shift and a transition there.
So how would you explain to people then what yoga is for then?
So for me, and in terms of when I work with my students or my clients, it's more about a way of life. So it's about being well and physically well. So that does mean coming to a physical practice and doing our exercise. But it's more about how we make conscious choices in our lives so that we can live our life comfortably, happily and fully, as opposed to just being able to come and step onto a yoga mat and make shapes. It's more about how can we make the most of our lives, and we learn that in our yoga practice or our meditation practice, and then we transition it with time out of that space into our own reality.
So there's quite a big spiritual element to it then.
Yeah, I mean, and that's completely sort of personal choice, because you can 100% come come to a yoga practice and become stronger, become more flexible, become healthier, manage your weight. All those things can be accessed through a physical yoga practice. But I think it's important that we recognize as well that it does originate as part of sort of ancient Indian culture and directly out of Hinduism as well. And there's also strands out of Buddhism and other sort of faiths as well. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that you have to be either of those religions, you know,
you can sort of do it just as an exercise if that's what you need out of it.
Of course. Yeah,
but there's so much more you could be getting out of it.
Yes, exactly.
And so did you have to train to do yoga?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that you just go in. I mean, one of the paths could be that you go and sit in a cave, and that's, you know, that's an option.
Right.
And I feel a bit like I'm doing that in isolation.
Well, yeah.
Where this is our own sort of opportunity to check in with ourselves, for sure. But yes, you do have to train. So in the West, so here in England, in America, to become a qualified and insured teacher and allowed to teach anyway, you have to complete a 200-hour teacher training course. So without that, you wouldn't be able to, and that's like a month, basically works out as a month. You wouldn't be able to teach anywhere, and you wouldn't be able to access insurance. Therefore, you know, you don't want to be practicing without any of those things.
No, of course not. So whereabouts did you train?
So I trained in India, in Rishikesh. So, yeah. So I have a very special place in my heart for there. So it was I'd never felt, I was going to use the word cold, but that might sound a little bit hippy-dippy, but I never felt pulled to go to India, and friends had before said, you know, you probably really like India. Yeah. And then once I started to learn more about yoga, there was a real desire to go to its birthplace.
Yeah, of course.
And I am so glad I did, because there's so many routes you can take, and everybody training in yoga is going to do that in a different way. But for me, I got to experience a more traditional culture, and yoga as part of everyday life over there. So, you know, being able to mix with a variety of different people, being able to eat the food that was kind of around at the same times as these concepts were created, and just feel it more in the body as a whole experience, so that then I can translate that back over here, mainly for myself, but also luckily for some of my students and clients as well.
So how long did you train out there for then?
For a month. So yeah, I travelled over there for a month and took part in the 200-hour course there.
Amazing. And were there people from all over the world doing the same thing?
Yeah, I was the only person from the UK on my course. So we had about 12, I can't remember how many there was of us now, but about 12 of us. And there was from people from Australia, people from India, people from America, different European countries, Africa. So it was a real multicultural course of people. That's the right sentence.
Yeah.
And that was really lovely as well, because as well as you sort of immersing into traditional sort of Indian culture, you're also mixing with just mixing with a wide range of different people.
Yeah, people from everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
So in normal times, people can obviously come to your studio. It's in Holbeck, is it?
So I don't have a studio, but I've been teaching in other studios. Like I've been working freelance. Yeah. So I've been working mainly under Hania Therapies as a massage therapist and healer, even though I have big issues with that word. I don't know why I just said that, but anyway, we'll leave it there. So I've been based here in Holbeck doing therapies, and then also teaching a lot in North Yorkshire where my parents live, where my mum lives.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts in North Yorkshire?
In Beedale.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, my family live in North Yorkshire, in Malton.
In Malton, yeah. Yeah. North Yorkshire's massive because Malton's such a long way away from Beedale.
I know, it's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you coping? Obviously, in these times, it must be very difficult for you because it's such a personal experience. And I suppose if you're teaching yoga, you're usually doing it one-on-one or in a small group. And all of your sort of therapeutic work, I imagine, is very sort of personal and, person to person. How are you coping?
Do you know what? I'd love to say, yeah, I'm having a really rubbish time and it's really hard, but actually it's been amazing. It's been absolutely mind-blowingly amazing.
Really?
So I kicked my boyfriend out in a lovely way. We're still together, because he's working and I'm here working from home. So he's, it's just me and the dog, Biff. I have to do him a shout out because he's so special.
Hello, Biff.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people who work in a holistic way or a caring way or a giving way, not obviously the key workers that we're referring to, but in a holistic therapy kind of way, I think we often offer too much and give too much.
Of yourself, sort of thing.
Of yourself, yeah, exactly, Hazel. And we've been given this opportunity to come and look at ourselves and the structures that we've got around ourselves, the work that we're offering, how we're offering it, and kind of reassess and go, what works, what doesn't work, what can I do, what can't I do, how can I make the best? I'm, like I said, I'm interested in the human experience. So I'm curious, right, this experience is happening. So what can I learn? And I've got my own health conditions like a lot of us do. And I know that I can't keep, as my mum puts it, chasing my own tail all the time, like just rushing about. And I've spent, my whole career doing that. It's gradually started to slow down. Before this happened, I wanted to build an online membership-based website to be able to offer yoga to more people and to make it accessible, because yoga can be quite elitist and it can feel very elitist. Yeah. And it can feel quite like when you're in it, it's okay. But if you're not, you think, can I go to that studio? What do I wear? What do I need? Oh, I don't know how to, it feels like another world.
Yeah, of course.
So I wanted to build the studio, the online studio, to kind of break that down a little bit and just be a human being and say, you know what, if you want to come and do yoga for 10 minutes, that's fine. If you want to do, be quite flexible and open and human about it. And what this sort of COVID situation, has done is given me the chance to sort of settle into that, to build up the technology around it, to learn how to integrate certain systems into certain things, which are like, oh my goodness, I had no idea, how to do all of those things. And that's really exciting. So I know that this is what I will be doing for a very, very long time. One, because I think and I believe in what I'm offering is good for people and for the people that will come to me. And it's also good for me and my health and my understanding of myself. So it like culminates both of those things.
Yeah, well, I suppose, that if the person who's teaching you something like yoga is stressed and worried, and pushed to the edge, that's not great, is it? So I suppose this way you can be your sort of best, happiest, levelest person.
Exactly. And we all say it, but, we've all got bills to pay at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course.
So, and, it's really difficult. It's actually a really difficult, I feel very lucky because I've always been relatively entrepreneurial. So I've always ran my own business. I've always worked for myself. So I've created that reality. But if you work as a yoga teacher just for a studio, not just, that's not necessarily a kind word, but if you don't work in that way, it's a really, really hard industry to work in. It's low pay. It's high stress. You are very, very, very disposable. And you have to work and teach a lot of classes to make a living. And that is from just my conversations with other teachers. I mean, like I say, I work in a kind of different way and I'm very lucky, privileged, whatever. It's just my experience. But it's a hard industry to be in.
And how are you getting on with getting everything online? Are you there yet, or have you still got a bit of work to do?
So it has just, again, cliched hippie word, it has just flowed. Like it has been, because I'd figured out the software that I wanted to use for the site. I'd figured that out before COVID. And I was just kind of figuring out how to buy it. Okay, it's a big investment to get this software. When do you do that? When do you invest that? Yeah. I just bit the bullet, and sometimes you have to take that risk, don't you? You just got to go, okay. And it is the studio is up and running. I've launched to my current clients and students, who are signing up and things. So it's all kind of, I was just writing a email actually, and just, it's kind of starting to build its life or its energy now and fit into like it's just living at the moment, which is really exciting.
Brilliant. And so obviously if you can send me links to all of your stuff, I can put it in the podcast notes and people can get involved.
That'd be fab. Yeah, fab.
Excellent. And so when did you come to Leeds then? So if you're from North Yorkshire, and what brought you here?
Yeah, so I came in 2006. Yeah, so 2006, and I've just never left. I think a lot of people do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I came when I came to live in Chapeltown to train at the Northern School of Contemporary Dance.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just never left because it's so brilliant.
Yes.
And so you're personally not finding lockdown. You're finding like a decent time for sort of self-reflection.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I mean, obviously, I'm 100% aware of other people are in much more difficult situations than me.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what it must be like to lock down with children, and you're supposed to teach them and work and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I went through a big, huge life change in January, and so this has been like a perfect time to sort of have a bit of time to think about where you're going, what you're doing, where you want to be.
It is. It's yeah, and you kind of, we feel that we shouldn't be acknowledging that, but we can only have our experience. That's
exactly.
It. Like we can be compassionate and loving and caring and offer support to anybody that needs it when we've got that within us, but we can't not have our own experience.
Yeah, exactly. Have you got any sort of hints and tips? Have you found any things that are great to do during the lockdown?
Just on a personal level?
Or just like, websites, or, have you been doing anything different than you'd normally be doing?
Have I been doing anything differently? I've not been using an alarm clock.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah. So I really go, you know what? I'm going to get, I'll have my to-do list for our, we are working, but I'm just, going, well, I don't get up late and sort of naturally wake up. But yeah, so that's very different, not having an alarm clock. And I probably am doing things. I'm trying to the ethos of the online studio is about, compassion and kindness and yoga anytime, anywhere, and being mindful of those. I'm trying to practice and embody how I want to be able to support other people. So kind of, I suppose that's really what's quite different. So I'm not chasing about, I'm trying to embody those things a little bit more.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? I've got a friend who's really into yoga. She's sort of started her own little, kind of like your thing, but with a cafe in France just before lockdown. So she just got set up, and then everything got locked down. I felt so sorry for her. But for quite a long time, she's been saying to me, "Oh, you need to meditate. You need to meditate." And in your busy sort of life, like I used to be at work for 8 o'clock in the morning, then I'd finish at 5:15. By the time I get home, it's 6:30. Then you're making tea, and then you just want to crash on the sofa. And I feel like I've got time every morning to meditate. I'm not doing it for like a long time. I'm just using an app and finding my way through it. But I actually find it so helpful. And it's something that I've had on like a list in my mind, like the never-ending to-do list in my mind of things that I will one day get around to doing. And, this time has just afforded me that, just the luxury of being able to sit there for 10 minutes because I'm not having to get 2 buses across town to get to work.
But what's interesting, and this is exactly what you're saying, is exactly how I actually got into yoga, as in got into understanding it, whatever it is. And I think now, even if you go back because 10 minutes is nothing, isn't it?
No, it's nothing in your day if you think about it.
It's nothing. And I think the more that you practice it now, or we practice it now whilst we've got this opportunity, you might go back to working 9 to 5 or whatever, but the ability to fit in those 10 minutes is going to be much more achievable because you've practiced it, you've felt it, and you've valued it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you've got to kind of, it'll come at the right time, and then you're like, oh, yeah. And then 10 minutes doesn't feel like anything. But at the beginning, you're like, 10 minutes is such a long time, checking your watch. Like,
yeah.
You know, oh, well, I've got to go put the washing in.
Yeah, because when it first started, I used to find myself sort of doing that. I just sat there with your eyes closed and thinking, must be nearly 10 minutes, man.
Yeah.
But I've stopped doing that now. And also I tended to, because I've always squashed all my hours into Monday to Thursday, so I can have Fridays off to do podcasts and things. So like I still like think of Fridays as a day off. And I used to not meditate on the Friday because like, oh, it's not a work day. But now I'm doing it. Now I'm doing it every day. And actually, if I miss a day, and if anything's slightly, you know, anything just like a little hiccup that can happen during the day, I can tell the difference because if I'd have meditated, I wouldn't be feeling that bad about it.
That's massive though, in reality,
so.
Isn't it? It's massive. So yeah, living your best life.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is. And I'm just getting into the routine of, because my practice isn't always physical yoga. It might be meditation, it might be, you know, journaling or something else. It's not always a set, you know, sun salutation or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting into doing it first thing. I've struggled with doing it first thing on the morning because I like to get things done first.
Yeah.
And then come to it. And that's just my way, and that's fine. But the past few days I've been settling into doing it first thing, and it might not last. It might last. I don't know. And that's fine. But I'm enjoying it like that right now.
Yeah. And I think as well, you can have like you know, we can all get the wrong ideas about things, but when I was telling another friend that I've been doing it, she's like, oh, I don't think I'll be able to do that because I won't be able to turn my mind off. And I was like, that's kind of where you're going towards, but also what I like is the one that I have, the way they talk you through it is like, you know, occasionally thoughts will come into your mind, but like don't get cross with yourself. Just acknowledge that those thoughts have come in and then try to get back to your breathing. You know, it's not like, because that can sound like a really weird, hard thing for someone to do. You know, this idea of clearing it, especially because I think our minds, you don't realise how busy your mind is until you try to clear it. But yeah, it's working towards that, isn't it? Because I was saying to my friend, and I was like, well, to be honest, you know, I'm not brilliant at it and my mind wanders off. I said, I think if any of us got to the point where your mind was completely clear, you'd probably be, you're on like the next level by
You'd be ascended.
Exactly.
But there's a really interesting Buddhist story, and very quickly, basically what I can't think of the word, it's not story, but when they say like a Buddhist thought thing.
Yeah.
I'm so good at my job. Buddhist thought. Basically, if you look at a river and then the water's running and it's running quite clearly, so this represents your mind, and then all of a sudden the water gets really murky and really muddy, and that might be your thoughts. So it starts to get muddy and murky. The worst thing you can do is go in there and try and stop it becoming muddy and murky, because you're going to make it muddy and murkier by getting in, and all the sludge is going to come up. But actually, if you just leave it, eventually that muddy murkiness will ease past, carry on down the river, and it'll become clear again. And, you know, it is exactly what you're saying. There's no point in being cross. The thoughts will come, then the thoughts will go. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. I just think it's really useful. And I think I really do feel the benefit. I'm sure there could be a million people listening thinking, yeah, whatever. But I do feel slightly calmer.
Brilliant. Yeah. And you know, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, does it? And it's your experience and it's your practice.
Exactly. Do you think, I mean, like we said, obviously for a lot of people, this is a very difficult time. And I think there's going to be sort of repercussions, you know, I mean, financially, emotionally, psychologically for a long time after this. But do you think that there's anything that could come out of it all that could be positive?
Well, I suppose, again, without trying to think of anything profound, just taking it into my experience slightly, is we've got the opportunity to build communities, and there's two strands to that. There's the fact that we are locked into our physical community, to neighbours that we might not have had a relationship with. Mm-hmm. And I've really, I'm really, really grateful for that opportunity to get to know neighbours better, to be able to support them, to be able to receive support and give support to people who we're so close to, yet so often so distant. And so developing a sense of community, especially for, well, not necessarily for the most vulnerable in your community, just as people for people, is a really brilliant thing. For me anyway, and that's what I'm currently experiencing. I live in Holbeck. It's a deprived area. We've got a complete mix of people on my street. But we are a community, and we're feeling that now, and we're supporting each other, and that's really special. And then the second side of that sort of connection or community is, you know, we can connect digitally. And the funny thing is that we might think that yoga, meditation, self-care work wouldn't work so well online. You know what? It's great. Like, it's really good. And I think recognizing, you know, maybe for some people, it's a mix of, you know, both when we finish, maybe it's more online practice, but we live in a world where we have technology. Again, we can't apologize for that. Like, this is our world, and we are having a human experience within it. So we've got this connection, this immediate community, and then this expansive community that can take over the whole entire world. Great.
Yeah, it does definitely give you opportunities to meet people and speak to people in the street that you wouldn't. I mean, I'm like you. I live in Beeston, so I live in back-to-back terraces. So I've been really lucky because I could just stand on my doorstep and I'm still, you know, the safe distance away, but I could still chat to my neighbours, which is really, really nice. And there's like a core of neighbours like near each other who all do keep an eye out in general. But then, you know, it's getting to know people who live maybe 2 or 3 doors away from you that you've not spoken to before. So yeah, I do feel, and again, it's because you're afforded the opportunity, because we're in a situation where, you know, we're all having to look out for, and I mean, like even today, I've got a gorgeous Afghanistan family who live across the road from me, 2 beautiful little girls. And like this, the shout. I don't know what it is. The shouting. I think they're shouting "Hani." I don't know what that means. But I know when they shout it that they're shouting of me. And so I go to my gate, and they were so excited, and they were showing me that the bin men had come. Bin men and ladies, I should say. Yeah. And they were like pointing because they were so excited, and the bin men and women were waving at them. You know, and that's just. I mean, that's just priceless to me.
No, I completely get it. A little girl was, just waving at me earlier. And then I was trying to make sure my dog didn't jump up and scare her. But, you know, that's the other side of it. But I think it's for me, it feels like a really lovely thing. Because so often we don't live, especially in the city, we don't live in a community.
Yeah. So that is a good thing. So I always ask my guests 3 questions, Amy. The first one being, what would you say is great about Leeds?
Well, I was thinking about this, and again, I was kind of like, I don't know. Not in a bad way. I was just trying to think. And one of the things was this sense of community and a sense of mixed community of just varying people and experiences. And what I love as well is, for me, it's not far from home. So it's not far from my family to North Yorkshire. And that you can literally have the amenities pre-lockdown, but we can still have takeaways, so it's fine. So the amenities of, I can get to a yoga class, I can get to any cafe, I can get to any restaurant, I can go to the cinema, I can go to the theatre. I definitely don't do any of those things enough outside of lockdown, but we can have anything we want. Yet we can get like to the Dales, or we can get to outside space, or we can, you know, not feel crowded. You can walk around the whole city centre within like a few minutes. You know, so it's perfect. It's the best of both worlds, I think.
Yes, well, I agree. And what would you say is something that is not so great about Leeds?
So I think this is the same again. I think it's quite generic on any city, and especially over the past few years. And this isn't it not being great. I think it's just we have more awareness of it in a city, of the level of poverty.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And especially like you in Beeston or me in Holbeck, and just walking through, you know, like I say, I've been here since 2006, and the level of homelessness and the increase within that since that time is unbelievable. And I'm sure that you'll know that, and you'll see it, and you probably know figures, which I don't, but just being witness to that, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying I don't want to see it and I want to bypass it.
No,
not
no,
at
I know
all.
what you're saying, yeah.
But it just
seems to have like become like increasingly there, doesn't it?
Really there. Really, really there. Because I don't go to, well, again, pre-lockdown, I didn't go to the city centre that much, but, you know, and you just be like, what? This is dramatically, you know, over the past few years, dramatic increase.
Mm-hmm. And it's like that. I mean, there's some fantastic initiatives and charities doing things in Leeds,
of course.
But it just always seems to feel like that there needs to be some sort of a bigger question, you know. I mean, it's all a very complicated subject, isn't it? And I'll leave it to the experts. But yeah, I agree. That is a really sad thing to have to see around the city.
Yeah.
And if somebody had been a resident of Leeds for a very long time, would you be able to tell them something that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they may never have heard of?
Probably not, no. But
it gets harder and harder.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. My favourite place to go, and the place that I just keep going down to, and I'm sure it's been mentioned loads of times, is just the woods in Middleton. You know, it's just, and especially at the moment with the bluebells and the wild garlic, and I believe that it's the oldest woodland in Leeds. That's what I heard once.
I heard that it's actually the oldest woodland in Yorkshire, but don't quote me on that. You think you might have half a fact in your mind, because I think there's pits there that are like Neolithic, but again, don't quote me on that.
I mean, there's the pits, and I just think it's stunning, and especially in this time where, I mean, there was a period where we couldn't do that extra drive, so I wasn't going over, and I was kind of just exercising from the house and walking from the house. But I just think it's beautiful, and the energy there, it just grounds you, calms you, especially if you can get down to where like the little streams are and things, and I just let my dog Biff, he just wanders through the stream, and, you know, it's lovely.
Yeah, I'm really lucky because I've only got to sort of walk over Dewsbury Road, and then I can walk up, you know, where the sports centre is. And then I'm there. But I went the other day, and I mean, I've lived here for 16 years, and I've spent quite a lot of time in Middleton Woods with my son when he was younger. Yes. And I found a completely different part of it that I'd never got. I don't know what track I've taken previously, but I found that there was like a rose garden, and there was a sculpture up to somebody with like a beautiful view and a little seating area. Yeah, it's really, really great.
Are you not got to that bit before?
I don't know what I've done. Literally, I've never seen, unless it's that, you know, like in your mind you think, oh, I've been to Middleton Park loads of times. And it's been like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years and I hadn't thought about it.
You've just been at Crossflats.
Yeah, I just got it wrong.
Yeah, no, but it is a great place to explore. And when I first went there, a friend took me, and I'd still lived in Leeds for probably about 6-7 years before I got there. And, she took me, and it took me ages to orientate myself there. And I still find sometimes I'm like, which track am I on?
Yeah, because there's sort of a lower one and a higher one. I always think as well, I would love to have seen it when the trams were running.
It's just a beautiful place, though, isn't it?
It really is. What will you be doing for the rest of your day today?
Well, today is, I need to, with our new community love, I need to go check on a few neighbours, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I do a bit of community love, and then I'm doing, what is it? I've been running a hashtag or a thing called Yin every day in May. So Yin yoga is a slow, stretchy, relaxing style of yoga.
All right.
And every day and May rhymed, so I made that into an event, naturally. So Yin every day in May is live on Facebook at 5:00. So I will be doing that. And then I've got a live class at 6:30. So I only do one live class that's kind of just taking place whilst we're in lockdown. So, you know, most of my things are pre-recorded on the studio, but I do one class at the moment, and that's Friday. So that's today at 6:30. So I'll be doing
lovely.
that.
But it's really nice as well to sort of engage with other people, is it? Doing the thing that you love.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's just figuring out stuff. It's always nice. I actually don't know, and this is the reality. I work intuitively a lot, so I have no idea what we're doing today. I maybe need to have a think about that. It always comes and it's always great, so I'm not concerned. I just always think that's funny. I have no idea what we're doing.
But when you get there, it'll all be fine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much for coming along and talking to me.
No problem. It's been great. It's nice to sort of meet a new person.
And maybe one of these days we'll be able to meet in real, actual life.
Yes, real human life. Exactly. Exactly. No, thank you so much.
Well, enjoy your class this evening. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Bye, Hazel.
Bye. I really enjoyed talking to Amy about Hania Therapies. I'm not sure I'm ready for full-on yoga just yet, but maybe I can meditate my way there. The music this week is provided by Surefire Affair with their great track, Promises. Stay safe and well, Leeds, and keep washing your tiny paws.